Everything in my studio was a bit klutzy and a bit cheap. It meant that I just kind of got a certain kind of result. Last 18 months, I started seeing videos of kids who weren't alive when I made these fucking records, and they're dancing to them. One of the book projects I'm on is about that whole neurodivergence and DJ culture at the moment. A life spent doing something that you love is a life well spent.
Welcome to another episode of the Artist Breakthrough Podcast, where we talk to some of the industry's finest artists, players, people that work, live and breathe this music scene, to bring you their stories, their advice, their experiences, which can help you guys move forward in your careers. And on this episode, I'm really excited actually to have this guest join us. Harold Heath, music journalist, writer, DJ, producer, spent over 3 decades navigating and contributing to the electronic music industry, a key figure from the early house and tech house scene as well, and whose music is now finding a new generation. Also shares his journey through writing and conversations around the industry and neurodiversity. So this is going to be a really cool conversation. So Harold, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be asked.
It's love it. We love it. Absolutely, absolute legend in the industry, as we said on the intro. You've been in the industry for a long time. Let's go back to those early days, to the very beginning, and let's talk about DJing. What pulled you into DJing at the start, when that was, what sort of years we're talking about?
I was a kid who was always into records, even when I was a little bitty kid, I just loved records from jumble sales or record shops or whatever, My parents had a little record collection, I really liked that.
So just pulled in straight away?
Yeah, straight away. I just kind of really like things that make noise. I was kind of into radios and record players and taking them apart and not being able to put them back together anyway, sound generally. But
so literally taking stuff apart, in terms of
buy old radios from junk shops and then take them apart and pretend I was going to make something out of them, but never, I kind of occasionally would wire a speaker up to something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was absolutely obsessed with records and the DJing. I kind of feel like I got into it because I loved music so much, and you can't eat it, you can't wear it, you can't smell it, but you can do other things with it, right?
Yeah.
And DJing is like an extension of just listening. It's like really super listening, and also you get to share it with people, which I think is a big motivation for a lot of DJs.
I think that's one of the best explanations I've actually heard of saying that. Because a lot of people get into DJing, it's that's how you can be as close to the music or to the emotion it gives you. Like you said, you can't actually eat it. You can't get any closer.
You can smell it. I used to smell my records. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think also it's not. So there's a great love of music and a great love of sharing it. There's also I think it's Bill Brewster said, DJing is quite an egotistical kind of pursuit, really.
Yeah.
There's an assumption that your taste is kind of the best in the room. Do you know what I mean? There's an element of that as well, I think. But for me also, DJing and music and inviting people around to listen to tunes and making them mixtapes, even before I started playing anywhere, it's definitely, I can look back as a way, it's a way of connecting with people, do you know what I mean? A way to find a kind of mutual space, and particularly for people who might not be so good at socialising. So it's definitely a way to be seen and a way to meet people.
And a way to give, isn't it? It's like you want to share the music and actually have other people experience that love that you have, right?
Definitely.
So when did that kind of move forward to actually start DJing and actually getting out and actually getting some gigs and stuff? When are we talking?
In the mid-'80s, right? I was so breakdancing had happened, electro had happened, and rap, and I was into all that. And then that died out a bit, and I was into soul music and stuff in mid-'80s. And then acid house happened.
So you're going through quite a collection of buying records.
Yeah, I just liked dance music and that culture. I bought into that quite early. It took me a few decades to appreciate that there are good rock records. Do you know what I mean? For decades, I was just dedicated to dance music, to black music, to DJ culture, trainers, not shoes. Do you know what I mean? That whole kind of thing. What was the question?
So when did the gigs first start coming?
I started just playing parties and that when I was about 16. Me and my friends started putting on parties. I would play anywhere, any occasion.
Full mobile setup sort of.
I hadn't had a mobile setup, no, but I had some awful speakers that I occasionally took to parties and blew. But I would play anywhere I could really. And we put on a couple of things in a youth club and stuff.
Yeah.
And acid house was happening. And then I went to university, and that's when I started playing regularly. Me and my mates put on a party at university playing house music. And then we took that to It was in South London, and after university finished, we took that to the local nightclub in Woolwich, and we worked there for a couple of years.
Wow. So what was you doing? What was you studying at uni at that time?
I studied something called Cultural Studies, which is a humanities course. Yeah.
Okay. So you had a keen interest in that as well as the music. Something to follow. But this is like, you're saying, like the acid house kind of coming through, the revolution, the explosion of it all. You go into uni and then start actually DJing through like parties and stuff around the uni.
Yeah.
Did you find that there was a momentum then that started growing and picking from that, and it was like connections you were making?
Very slowly I started to get work around South London, different university campuses first of all, but I was going to so many record shops occasionally. You get to know the people behind the record shops, and eventually you might be able to get a warm-up gig. So I was doing stuff like that. I definitely got a couple of gigs just from hanging around record shops and always being there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is kind of part of it, isn't it? That was
at the time
for a long time, I suppose, until it sort of moved on to, well, CDs originally, wasn't it, at first when the CDJs? But the record shop culture was such a big thing,
a huge thing. It was where we met people. It was where you found out stuff. It was it was a whole social kind of world to it as well. You probably remember going there on a Friday night or a Saturday morning to get your tunes for the weekend, battling with other people to pick. If the distributor turned up, they've only got 5 copies or something. All that stuff. There's a whole culture of that. I fucking love that. I miss that.
Do you attribute that whole part to quite a big part of your growth, like actually building, connecting, networking?
Well, I was always appalling at networking. I think my success was like despite of my appalling networking. Do you know what I mean? Like I was there in the record shops, but I was quite a klutzy networker generally.
But that's really interesting to hear, because I think we talk about it a lot now, like through the academy, and people recognise that, like the networking thing. It's a big umbrella just to talk about, but the connections, getting to know things. But for you in your journey, it was more actually just attributed to the music, what you're collecting, what you're playing.
I was very much heads down, very focused on doing this thing that I loved, and the rest of it was kind of ancillary, really. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So do you think that was quite a big gap, like a different time back then with DJing in general, where it was just more about the music?
Oh, definitely.
So you could be that.
You
could
be
more
heads down. Making content. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You spent all day looking for tunes, making mixtapes.
Yeah. Yeah. And did that suit you? Did that, for you personally, like as a DJ?
I loved it. And I wouldn't want to compare myself to the great DJs, but imagine if Larry Levan was around today and he had to make videos and make some content, Larry. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine how fucking ridiculous that would be.
Yeah, it's mad when you put it that way and you actually think about that. The early legends are putting them in that.
Fuck, right?
I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. So, like from that point there, you're starting to DJ and getting gigs around South London.
Yeah.
Like, what was that next step? What was the next thing that sort of
I floundered for a bit in the late 90s. I was more going to clubs than getting gigs, really, and I wasn't really sure what to do. I got a job for about 18 months, a proper job, the only time I've really had one, in marketing. I was fucking, can I swear?
Yeah.
I was fucking appalling. Really awful. And they made me redundant in 2001, and I was really happy because they gave me a payment, like a payoff. And I spent it on a bunch of studio equipment because I just wanted to make tunes. I'd already been thinking about making tunes. I'd kind of been DJing, and I'd started to, I think I had a drum machine that I was also adding into my DJ sets at home. Maybe I had a little delay unit or something. I was starting to just get a bit bored with just 2 records and wanted to do a bit more and trying to work out how to do it just with decks. And this was the time when the technology for music making had started to produce lots of groove boxes. Do you remember those little groove boxes? Like the Roland MC303. I remember seeing Terry Francis jamming on one of them after a wiggle, like in the late 90s. I was like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? So
at the time, it was so revolutionary.
It was. You could just, get a little box and make a little acid tune and all that. So that kind of came together just at the right time for me. So I got this payoff. I bought a load of really cheap equipment, built this little home studio, started making tunes, and immediately, luckily, I just started getting signed up. Stickman with a Canadian label with the first record label.
Amazing.
Took a bunch of tunes off me, and then Matthews Oblong and all that kind of thing. And I had this little golden period of knocking out these tunes.
So before we continue, if you're watching this podcast, you're probably a dance music producer trying to break through. And that's exactly why we created the Toolroom Academy Production Certificate course. It's an online program that certainly changed the game in house music education. Over 3 months, we write a track together to a professional level. You receive professional A&R feedback and technical feedback along the way every single week, and you'll join a really supportive, genuine community of like-minded producers as well. Our students have gone on to get signed to labels like Toolroom, Armada, Spinning, Nervous, Solid Grooves. They've started DJing in boiler rooms and touring internationally. If that sounds like the next step for you, check out toolroomacademy.com for more info. I mean, you talk about it quite almost like flippantly, just like, yeah, it's got some studio stuff, started making some beats, luckily got signed. I mean, there's luck, but there's obviously there's talent involved here. You've got to be making some good stuff. Like when you were making the tunes, so you were still DJing whilst you were doing that awful marketing job that you realised you absolutely hated, it just wasn't you. Yeah. Still DJing and stuff, managed to get that time and start building. When you was first started making music, in your home studio setup, was you consciously thinking about where you want to go, what you want to make, or were you sort of more freely just being creatively just jamming?
I'd been going to Wiggle, the South London tech house party with Terry and Nathan and Eddie.
Massive, infamous.
My mates had introduced
parties.
it to me. I was much more into kind of piano house and uplifting house. My mates were like, there's a whole new world, Harold, come on, get involved in this. And for a couple of years, I'd been going to that scene. And I just wanted to make those records, and I was buying those records. And I swear, I would sit in my... Honestly, it's a pretty rough studio, some proper pony gear, really low rent.
But this is often the case when you talk to producers and artists that, where they've started, it's not...
Yeah, I had cheap rubbish gear. I had records by Matthew Bushwhacker and Asad Rizvi, Silver Lining, right?
Yeah.
Two of my favourite producers, and they're both particularly good producers. And I would just sit with the record and put it on and just try and work out what magical studio alchemy that they were doing. And then I would program it on my machine, not really knowing what I was doing, right? And, on this awful... I had such a shit studio setup. I had one reverb. It was tiny little crappy reverb. It's fourth hand, really awful quality. Had one setting, it just sounded like a serial killer's toilet. Do you know what I mean? It's horrific. Everything in my studio was a bit klutzy and a bit cheap and third hand.
Yeah.
But it meant that, I don't know, I just kind of got a certain kind of result.
Yeah, exactly. That gave you a kind of sound.
It did.
An atmosphere within the music then in those early times.
All I was trying to do was copy other people. But in my amateur attempts to copy them, I came up with something else. And I never achieved those records of that quality that they were making. I used to listen. I'd be like, how have you done that? It's so funky. It's so amazing. But there were better producers, better knowledge, working in better studios. But what I produced instead, sorry, I spoke over you there.
No.
I
Keep going.
Something that had its own charm, definitely. And I think that's why a lot of those records now, certainly the early ones in my career, I think they're popular now because they were made without a computer. There was no screen involved. It was just me and a couple of groove boxes and a couple of old rubbish delay units, a set of old analog compressors. Didn't really know. I didn't know what quantizing was. Do you know what I mean? I knew it existed. I didn't know what anything was, but I was just trying to make records that sounded like Derek Carter or Assad.
But that's so cool. I honestly think that's how some of the best music is made.
Yeah, if only we knew.
And you're really humble in saying those guys, amazing, know what they're doing. I guarantee if we sat here with some of them, they'd probably say a very similar thing to when they were first getting into it. Not necessarily like they all just knew it. And the thing is, there's people that have done the same thing, sat listening to your music. So someone sat there and gone, right, I'm going to listen to these records and try and work out what the hell is going on. And because I've found it I've spoke to quite a lot of artists over the years through different things, let alone this podcast. And I mean, even last night when we were teaching on one of our online production courses, so one of our main tutors, Ben Remember, he's really open and talks about this in a more modern way. When he was first kind of really getting into producing house, he was basically trying to work out 2 or 3 of his artists that he really liked on the label on Toolroom and trying to work out how to sort of copy them essentially, but ended up with his own version of it. And he was doing it was again quite a basic old PC laptop, some quite basic studio headphones, 90 quid ones, sat at the end of his bed. But the guys at the label loved it. When they heard it, they were like, this is wicked. It's like feels like it fits the label, but it's new and fresh. And he was sort of sat there thinking, well, I just tried to copy them in a way.
There's a lot to be said for naivety
his own.
and enthusiasm in production. Do you know what I mean?
I think there is.
I had quite a long production career, but if I listen to the last 5 years of my production career, those records are a lot tidier, a lot more professional. They're not as good. Do you know what I mean? They lack.
Yeah.
I don't know what they lack. They're much more pristine. They're kind of they're much closer to what I was trying to achieve, ironically.
Yeah.
But when I didn't get close to what I was trying to achieve, I produced something else that I think has a bit more longevity.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really
as soon as I got a
interesting
computer and started working on a screen, and started to access the same things that other people are accessing, like 20 brilliant reverbs. Oh, choose one of those excellent reverbs.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're going to sound.
So sometimes too much choice and too much decision making can actually affect the creativity, can't it?
Absolutely, and you can sound better in certain ways, in terms of production. But is it better in terms of energy or in terms of passion or love or rawness or authenticity?
Yeah. It's the soul, isn't it? It's the soul and the vibe in the music that really actually counts and connects.
I don't know. I think you can use, like I could use Ableton and really put my heart and soul into it, but inevitably I think because of the architecture and the sounds, it's gonna have less character than when I was using equipment that shouldn't have been used in that way, and using it in a way that I didn't know what I was doing.
That was your formula. That was your thing.
That was my thing.
Was your DNA.
As soon as I learned how to do it, I blew it. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. So what were some of the earlier programs you were using when it started to move on, and like you first went from just like the analog gear?
When did I switch? What computer programs?
What computer programs? And things
I think I started using Reason for a few years. Probably in the late 2000s, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I switched to Ableton at some point.
So Ableton in probably those earlier times of when it was first.
Yeah, maybe.
First sort of coming through.
And I liked them both. They're both really cool.
Yeah,
definitely. I really liked them at the time. It meant you could scale my studio down because I had this big old studio and that, and it meant I could scale it right down. I didn't have to have a rack of old DXs or whatever.
Was there a period when you started like working out some of the analog gear, like what it was actually doing and stuff? Did you then buy more stuff, like from, you were talking about like your fourth hand reverb and things like that?
I guess I learned how to use compressors eventually, and I learned what EQ was, and I learned about panning and stuff and inserts and shit like that. So I got a bit. I could.
You got into it.
It took a while, but yeah.
And then did this start helping with your DJing? Did you notice quite a prolific and instant sort of connection that really helped drive it?
No, but you get a few more gigs if you're putting out tunes, because other DJs are playing your tunes at tech house gigs and your name gets heard, and eventually a promoter was like, oh, he DJs as well, he's not just a producer. So it was a way to get better gigs, I guess. It wasn't really my goal. Again, the goal, I mean, I liked getting gigs. I wanted to work as a DJ, but I really just wanted to make music or play music. Do you know what I mean? That was the ultimate. If I never got any gigs, I think I would have carried on anyway. If I never
carried on making stuff.
Yeah, if I never got any stuff signed, I think I would have carried on for several years anyway.
Yeah. So do you think that was like that? When you talk about that early stage, when you were saying about just wanting to connect, be close to the music, which led you into buying vinyl and stuff like that. Do you think when you started producing, that was the next phase that helped you with that creativity output and feeling really close to it?
Getting really close to the music.
Yeah.
Right? But also, again, it's another way of connecting with people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another way of being seen, another way of forming a bridge to other people that you might not be.
Yeah, totally.
A way of. Ultimately, right, a lot of the things that I've done in my life, I think, is just me going, hey, Mum, look at this. I think, there's a part of that as well. I think it's about being seen, right?
Yeah, totally, isn't it?
Here I am, kind of thing.
I think that's with anyone who's trying to achieve certain goals and stuff. There's the passion that drives it, that you love, but there is a sort of, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's straight up like egotistical, but it is like a validation thing. Do you think, is that like...
I think part of it's egotistical. I think we're all complex and multi-layered beings, but I think a lot of it, for me, definitely, it's a way of, I keep saying it, of being seen and connecting in a way that I probably wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. I could see my friends, colleagues, people in the industry at great ease with which they could meet people and talk to people and connect.
So the music for you was that,
do you know what I mean?
Was that method?
It, I think,
that's really cool. I think there's so much to take from that. That's quite a, I don't know what the word is. I think it's just quite a pure answer in terms of how music actually is a thing that can connect.
It's a bridge, man.
Yeah, bridge. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It is. It's that bridge. So when you listen back to all those old productions now, like you sort of touched on that of like comparing those earlier ones to the sort of more modern ones. Like, how do you feel about that starting to connect again now as well? Because there's definitely like a younger audience now which are really digging into, you know, all older generations of house music.
Can I be frank?
Yeah, totally.
It's fucking brilliant, man. It's been the most wonderful late career resurgence.
Yeah.
The last 18 months, I've started seeing videos and getting videos sent to me of kids who weren't alive when I made these fucking records, and they're dancing to them because, you know, DJs have gone, they're starting to, enough time has gone since I made them that those records have become interesting again, right? And a lot of them are quite rare, or you know, only a few hundred of them left or whatever. So yeah, to see that happening, to see people dancing to those tunes that I made before they were fucking alive, it's just the most wonderful, beautiful, unexpected career bonus. I'm fucking loving it, man.
I love it.
Brilliant.
I absolutely love it. I
brilliant.
mean, got two of them sat over there who've, you know, discovered your music and are into it, you know, who really love that and are real sort of house heads that dig deep. I think it's so cool. That's a testament to, like, for me, without just trying to sound cheesy or cliche, but that's what house music is about, right? How, in its form, it's not about like how music can like age or change. It's just a forever sound. I think it's brilliant.
It's nice that people are still connecting with it.
Yeah.
Those tunes drop and they're like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? It's nice that that's still happening.
Totally. And do you think it's a thing as well, like culturally, because music shifts, right? Moves around in trends, it changes. We see it kind of happen a lot. You know, you've been through and seen all sort of things change musically. And where we are now, we're seeing that a bit more, like, well, a lot more of this 90s resurgence for everything, you know, with the piano house coming back and being huge, being almost becoming, you know, a huge mainstream thing in its own right. But it's all very much like 80s, 90s, early 2000s influenced. That's all come back. And I think we spent such an interesting long time of everything being so polished. Like if we go back in a sort of, I don't know, 2010 sort of onwards era, you know, when music started to just become more and more polished all the time. And now a younger audience are actually being pulled back towards what it was like in those early times. You know, what do you think? Do you think that's like a natural evolution? Do you think they're just looking for something deeper, something more raw?
I think there is something to be said, like we touched on it earlier, a lot of those records, I mean, if we're talking about my records, you know, they are raw and some of them are a bit odd sounding.
Yeah.
Certainly the early ones because of my amateurishness. And I think that's a quality. I think a lot of the records from that time have that quality of kind of innocence and the kind of unique sound. You know, I didn't make any crazy fucking, you know, developments in the sound, but they're kind of unique sounding because they're so amateur. And I think that there's a certain charm to that. And I think that's something that's quite hard to replicate now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. So, I do believe that. And I just think I think it's amazing. It fascinates me that we are seeing this now with younger audiences, you know, where the club scene is with younger audiences kind of digging for this and really looking and trying to push this raw sound. And then you still got, like, you know, older people from then, like yourself, you know, that are still in it, doing it as well. There's a real, I just think it's a great time at the moment where everyone's sort of like connected from all these different generations and really kind of enjoying it all together.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a wicked thing. So are you going to get back into producing and start making music again? That was the thing I wanted to ask you.
The funny thing is that, like, in the last couple of years, I've had loads and loads of people contact me asking me if we can repress some of those early records, and I'm doing that at the moment. I've got a few labels that I'm doing.
Amazing!
We're going to repress some of the biggest ones. I'm also in the process of getting all my catalogue sort of back under my own control, so I can get it all remastered and actually start profiting from it. Because now people are rediscovering it. Some of the digital stuff is kind of worth me doing that. And in the process of doing that, I kind of have been through my archives and I've got a huge amount of tunes that I never released, right? Particularly from that early period as well. I think probably a lot of them I just made them and forgot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I made them and just thought, that's not good enough, or it's, you know, not as close to what I'm trying to achieve.
So they're just sitting on hard drives at the moment?
Sitting on DAT tapes, man, like probably between 50 and 100, you know, and I've already started to do deals with labels to re-release some of that stuff.
That's wicked.
And I'm going to re-release some more of that as the year goes on. And once I've got all my stuff on Bandcamp, then I can start putting my old stuff on there. And so I kind of wouldn't mind doing some more production. It's possible, right? I'm
Why not?
I'm going to churn out all this stuff from my old catalogue first of all, see how that lands. I don't have a studio anymore. I kind of really completely stopped it. I just moved straight to writing. That was my only creative outlet. But there's a part of me that's always missed producing. So it's a possibility I might get back into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe kind of recreate more of a old school basic rough setup as well and see what happens rather than...
If I'm going to do it, I couldn't bear sitting on a computer. I type all day on a computer. So again, if I'm going to do it, it'll be like a little hardware.
Get hands on. Yeah, I love the fact that, so really you're seeing a whole sort of full circle resurgence for yourself in terms of the production and that, which is amazing, isn't it? Because sometimes when you go through that certain thing, which I know you spoke about before, like, you know, what is next? What do you see? You know, or is it over?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I did kind of assume that it was over production-wise. I couldn't really justify to my wife spending a couple of weeks knocking out a deep house tune that I might get paid 20 quid for in 2 years. You know?
Yeah.
We had a kid and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why. Who knows what's going to happen with production? I think it's quite possible. I think it would be quite a fun.
It's super cool, isn't it? Super cool.
Options for things to do.
And just touching on what you said about your music and getting back in control of some of the older music.
Yeah.
Now, is that from where some of the older music was signed to labels and the deals, the length of the deals are coming to an end, so you actually get the masters back?
I guess so. Yeah, it's quite complicated. Someone with ADHD, my business has been really badly organised. I've not been on top of that shit for years. I think a lot of those contracts have reached their end. I probably did several years ago. Yeah, but they're still sitting on sites generating tiny bits of money. For
totally. That's the thing. A lot of these labels, they're not necessarily going to take it down, or not for whatever reason. But
I mean, I kind of get that. So yeah, I'm trying to get on top of all that.
Because it is. Because I suppose a lot of those contracts you signed back then, was you aware of what you were signing, or just signing away?
I was just happy to get my tunes out. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the time you would just try and get an advance out of them, and you'd sign something and they just bung you an advance. And it's not that it wasn't worth the paper it was written on, but
I know what you mean.
Things were quite informal with small labels. And it was that period as well when a lot of labels were going bust because the distributors were going bust in the early 2000s. There was a lot of stuff left hanging, a lot of, so...
It's a mad time, but that's cool that you are thinking about that and getting like masters back,
now's the time,
getting into control, start going through it.
I'd like to do some remixes of my old stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? And maybe some, all that kind of thing. It's all options, man.
Yeah, it's wicked, absolutely wicked. Right, sorry, I've put everything in a complete mental order while I was trying to sort things out. This is hilarious. That's my bad. All right, where are we? I don't know what order these are in, but I'm just let's have a chat.
Yeah.
I want to chat about your book, because I think your book it's very honest and open, like what you're talking about with your own like neurodiversity things that you experience. You know, you're quite open of saying that you have autism and ADHD. You speak about it a lot, which I think it's awesome. I think it's such a great thing that you bring awareness to that.
It's a shame that we're at a stage where that's still considered awesome rather than normal. No offence to you at all. You know what I mean?
No.
You're right, it is awesome, but also it should be not awesome. It should just be absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah, it should be something quite easy that's just totally. I totally get that. But I think what I mean when I say awesome is the fact that you are someone who is kind of pushing to make that like a normal thing. Just it doesn't have to be something that's extra, that's special. That this is big thing.
Yeah, I'm writing a book about it at the moment. One of the book projects I'm on is about that whole neurodivergence and DJ culture at the moment. It's a very big thing for me. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. And is that from like obviously your own experiences, but also like other people as well,
like
other artists?
A bunch of neurodivergent DJs who've given me some of the most wonderful quotes and such. For the book. Yeah, so it's quite a big project, really. Thank you, it's very kind of you.
No worries. So, a new book in the pipeline. Have you got like an idea of when, like roughly, or is it sort of
pipeline?
Okay,
yeah,
amazing.
I know. I was saying just before we came on, I should have really written them, in order and then got them out. But instead, I spent 5 years writing 3 books, kind of concurrently, which I wouldn't particularly recommend. But we're approaching completeness on all of them now.
But that's amazing, I think for a lot of sort of general, I know everyone's different, but a lot of things that you can battle with ADHD is that, like seeing things through. Yeah. So to actually be juggling 3 at the same time and seeing them, I think that's very kind of you. That is, well, you know, is someone who speaks from sort of experience myself in my own household. We're pretty much a full ADHD household.
Oh, right.
And completing tasks and seeing things through and things like that can be quite a battle.
I'm lucky. I'm also autistic, so I'm kind of obsessive about things like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm quite a completist. I don't like leaving things undone. I have to keep them.
See, that's really interesting then, the two combined, the two sort of things combined.
Work, it's brilliant. It can.
That could be like a superpower when that actually clicks together, to have that, that finesse of completing things and seeing things through.
Yeah, when it works, it's a good thing.
So let's talk about the first book, The Long Relationships, like actually doing that. Like, did you find that a tricky process and quite natural process of writing that book?
I discovered by that point that I loved writing and I was good at it. And it was a real pleasure to write. And all I really wanted to do was write everything I'd ever thought about DJing, really, and stick it in the first book. Thinking about it, I could have got 2 books out of that. Do you know what I mean? I could have got 2 more punchy books out of that with a bit of editing. But yeah, I just wanted to write everything I'd ever thought about DJing. And it turned out that was my story and also my opinion on the industry and all sorts of things, really. So yeah, it turned out very relatable, people told me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
100%. Was it? Did you find the whole process of doing it like quite therapeutic for yourself in a way, like looking back on it as you were doing it, or was it literally just like, I need to get this sort of?
I did enjoy doing it, and I think in terms of it being therapeutic, it consolidated my kind of ideas around success. I finished that book feeling like I had been very successful in dance music, even though I'd never reached the kind of heights that initially I'd set for myself. I never played in Ibiza or whatever, do you know what I mean? I never played at Fabric. But by the time I'd finished that book, I had evaluated what I had achieved and realised that I'd had the most wonderful time in dance music and it had been quite fucking brilliant. And I just managed to rebrand my idea of what success was. A life spent doing something that you love is a life well spent, regardless of whether you played at Fabric or not. Do you know what I mean? Right.
I think that is so poignant. I think that's an amazing kind of statement. And I really like the fact that it is quite different, like the way that book frames things, that whole point of where it's coming from, because in this industry especially, I feel it, but then I suppose I'm working in it and working in the educational side of it, you know, but most artists that are coming through or really aspiring to have a level of success, it is all about just that end goal, like the really top level of the A-lister, the fame, you know, that huge success. And I don't think people actually very rarely talk about, well, success can be at every level of what you actually...
what you mean by success, right?
Exactly, right?
You know, putting on a party with your friends and they invite their friends and you all play your favourite music and you all dance together and have an amazing weekend. That not success, Jesus, do you know what I mean? It's it's the crazy thing about dance music and DJ culture. It's so kind of throwaway and hedonistic and we're just having a good time, but also it can be the most fucking beautiful thing in the world. It can be, you can generate memories that will live with you for the rest of your fucking life. Do you know what I mean? At the same 100%. Time, it's just having a good time. You know, it's this wonderful double-headed thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'll sit here now smiling just at the thought of that, of things that just pop into my head, which I can take away from any decade of those moments that you'll never forget. Yeah. It's brilliant. I think it is. It's really cool. It's a really honest, it's a really honest story of talking about that. And I think it is something that's important for new artists to think about and actually realise that to not have, because do you think there's something related to, like, I don't know, like the pressure of that climb of where they see success at, and it's just seeing that end goal and that constant drive towards it, and maybe not actually enjoying the moments they're in, the parts they're in, appreciating that, you know?
The journey is just, you know, as much fun as the destination. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think what is that top level of success? Because I think about it, I've probably got a similar-ish story of going through all that DJ, but my career is now this side of the industry. But back then I was dreaming of being the A-lister DJ. Whatever, exactly. All those icons that I loved. It was the exact same thing, but I have a career which I love, but it's working the other side. It's within the industry, and I wonder, you know, it's an interesting thing whether new artists actually think about that other part.
Yeah, the definition of what is a DJ and what is a successful DJ is definitely broadened to include a whole world that wasn't really there when I was coming up. Do you know what I mean? We wanted to play tunes to our mates. We wanted to put on a party. Maybe we wanted to travel around and play other gigs, you know what I mean? But we weren't particularly focused on headlining a festival with, you know, whatever. I've got no beef with that at all. Just if that's what they're aiming for. But, you know, like I say, the definition of what a DJ is has become quite broader in terms of being an entertainer who plays a pre-programmed set with pyrotechnics and that kind of thing. And I could see how people might want to aim for that as their goal. And if that's what you want, that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not mine. It's not yours.
I suppose it's what they see as what is a career, what is an actual career within it, and how.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? I don't know that I ever kind of, for years, I wasn't thinking of a career either.
So that's the thing I was going to say. Yeah, did that consciously come into your mind, thinking
it was children, right? Having a kid and getting married, that kind of makes things a bit more real. And then you have to start thinking about, can I make a career out of this? And when that happened to me, that collided with the industry collapsing in terms of like records and that, right? So it was like a perfect storm to not be able to carry on, I guess.
And is that when the sort of movement into writing really came?
No, because I spent a number of, maybe another 10 years being really stubborn and carry on. And only at the end of that period that I was like, oh, fuck it, yeah. And the writing thing was, I thought I would retrain as a music technology teacher, right? So I did a PGCE part-time when I was doing a bit of work.
That's so cool.
You have to do a lot of writing essays and that, right?
Yeah.
And I found that I really loved the writing, and I was a really good student. I won an award for my lesson plans. I had this really innovative plans to make.
That's awesome.
To make dyslexic students be able to speak more and contribute more in class and stuff, right? But what happened was I did 2 years of the training, and at the end of it, I discovered that I really loved writing and that I really hated teaching. So I never did anything with it. That's when I just switched into becoming a freelance writer. But
you did, you had to go on that journey to sort of discover that.
I absolutely
and
had
work
to.
that out.
Yeah, but not for me.
So what period was this? What timing line was this when you actually sort of moved?
I think I stopped. Yeah, it would be about 2015. I think at that point I was like, I cannot get enough gigs. I can't make the production pay enough money. I got a kid. I got a wife who works really hard. What the fuck am I doing?
It's a big bold decision though, isn't it? To say, right, I'm going to try and retrain in something else.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it was like, I can still work in music, right? I can still go and teach kids how to make beats. Then I'll be with music every day kind of thing. And, like I say, I was good at it, but yeah, it's just not really for me. I like working by myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a team player.
And once you started writing and actually getting like work and paid work through writing, like, is there any sort of comparison really at all to that and what you was doing through DJing? Or did you feel like a fulfillment, a connection?
It fulfills this creative, the urge I have to create, right? And I think it fulfills a similar urge as we keep, I've said a couple of times as a way to connect, a bridge to other people and a way to be seen. So in that way, it's quite similar. Yeah. Obviously, DJing's a lot more instant in the moment. Whereas writing, you're by yourself, and those moments of connection only come when the book comes out 2 years later or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think there's a similar process going on of loving music, wanting to share it, wanting to connect, and also wanting to be seen as well.
Yeah.
I think it has that in common.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so what kind of things were you doing in terms of like other writing for publications and things like that?
I started writing smart ass stuff on Facebook. And there was a magazine called IDJ. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember IDJ.
They'd just gone digital, and they gave me a column every month to be a smart ass about dance music. They were the first people who employed me. And from then, I just got more work, and I started pitching magazines, wrote a lot of reviews. Man, I've written a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and just for anyone, like when Mixmag was still employing freelance writers and stuff, I did a few bits for them. And yeah, it just came like that, really. Kind of a natural progression from what I was doing.
Yeah.
It seemed to make sense.
Definitely.
I think I've been quite lucky in that there's not that many writers in dance music and DJ culture who've also DJ'd and produced. So I think there's probably a few, but I've got quite a handy perspective. I've seen a bit of different aspects of the industry. I've been in there for quite a while.
Yeah,
and
100%.
So.
When I think about my earlier days coming into the industry a bit later, and it was that's what you wanted. We wanted you to be reviewing the music, in the early days of Tool Room, and I can remember that, thinking, okay, and fingers crossed, has he written something good? Like, does he like it? Or has he ripped it apart?
Just as an aside now, I mean, I don't think there's any appetite for anyone to publish negative reviews anyway. I've been thinking about that lately. I review, for most of the people I review for, I review stuff that I fucking love, but I also get asked to review stuff I'm not that fussed about.
Yeah.
But they don't want an honest review. They want a review. Occasionally, I'm tempted to send them two. Like the review I know you're going to publish and what I really think of this pile of ponies that you fucking sent me that we both know isn't very good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's really interesting, right? If we think about that from the times of when that was a thing, like you know, you'd go to the review part of DJ Mag, Mix Mag, and you didn't know what you was going to get across those few pages, right? Of all those paragraphs of tracks.
Because you could tear into someone, right?
Yeah.
You could tear into someone's production and it would stay within the context of where you'd fucking written it. It would stay within the magazine.
Yeah.
And the only other people who might get angry, they might write into the magazine, right? It's not like one line of that would then be taken and spread all around the fucking world for people to take out of context and get angry about. You know what I mean? So it's kind of impossible, very difficult now.
That's what I was going to
write
say,
honest reviews, which is a shame because honest reviews are fun, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because anything with any slight controversy, criticism.
If I say I don't like this album, it's not as good as the last one, you just get, he's a hater. It's negative. Why can't you be positive? There's just no appetite for that at all anymore. And I think that's quite a shame, really.
Yeah.
I could write some savage fucking reviews. You know what I mean? I get all my anger out, man. It would be wicked.
Well, the thing is, that's yourself being honest, you know, and I think maybe, do you think, I don't know, is that what we're, do you think that's what we're lacking a lot today?
It's that internet thing, man. I don't know. There's no appetite for that because it just gets ripped out of context and it becomes big and horrible when it isn't meant to be big and horrible. It's meant to be people talking about something that they're so passionate about, they have strong feelings about, and they expect the producers to do a really fucking good job. And if they haven't, do you know what I mean? I'm angry. I know you can do better. Do you know, this is our culture. I fucking love it. Do you know what I mean? It's not coming from a place of hatred. It's coming from a place of love. But you can't fucking, like, as soon as you rip it out of context, doesn't matter, does it? It just becomes like, Harold says something really mean about that album. Oh my God, we're supposed to be positive, man.
And it's like,
bullshit.
I suppose, because the thing is, everyone as well, what's changed is everyone has that ability to be sort of a judge and jury through the internet, through social media, especially on social media.
I'm qualified.
Fair play. So before we continue, if you're watching this podcast, you're probably a dance music producer trying to break through. And that's exactly why we created the Toolroom Academy Production Certificate course. It's an online program that certainly changed the game in house music education. Over 3 months, we write a track together to a professional level. You receive professional A&R feedback and technical feedback along the way every single week. And you'll join a really supportive, genuine community of like-minded producers as well. Our students have gone on to get signed to labels like Toolroom, Armada, Spinning, Nervous, Solid Grooves. They've started DJing in boiler rooms and touring internationally. If that sounds like the next step for you, check out toolroomacademy.com for more info. Let's just go back. I touched on it, like, and said you've spoken openly about like being autistic with ADHD. Like, when was it that you started to understand that about yourself? Was it early or late?
No, I think I was diagnosed about 3 years ago, and then with ADHD, and then autism came a year later. And
so that's quite late in life, isn't it?
Right, man. Yeah. If I look back to that book I wrote, Long Relationships, and there are parts of it, right, where it is so clear that I'm autistic or ADHD. It's like, honestly, it's just screaming it out, man. It's like there's a big neon sign behind going, "You're autistic." There's a band on stage playing a tune called "Harold is autistic, doesn't he realise?" It's so fucking glaring. Do you know what I mean? And the only part of that book that makes me even slightly sad is that there are sections of that book where I'm not particularly compassionate towards my failings as a networker, right? Which I could now see are very much due to the kind of person I am. And were I writing that book now, the only thing I think I would change is I would be a bit more compassionate to myself in that area. Because I just didn't fucking know. I just assumed I was a bit fucking weird, couldn't get on with people or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's so interesting. So that is something from the book that you can actually look back.
It's odd. There are a few passages where I'm just like, it's so glaringly obvious. There are passages where I say things like, I would have been more successful had I been a bit more able to interact with people at after parties, if I kind of had a better sense of whether I was in a work meeting or whether this was friends. Do you know what I mean? Those kind of little social stuff that I wasn't great at.
Yeah. But you weren't aware of why that you weren't. You might not have been great at that.
Yeah. So consequently, then you tend to assume that there's a problem with you in yourself, and that's the power of the diagnosis in that I would now be a lot more compassionate towards myself about that. I don't think that I'm inherently wrong or bad or useless at networking. I just I know who I am now, so I'm a lot more.
That's huge. That's huge for yourself, for personally, and I think for a lot of people who go through this and have late diagnosis to then kind of look back. What's the word? Reframe your past.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. It's quite a privilege to be able to be diagnosed, to have the time and the space to do that. I was able to afford a bit of therapy. I'm very, very lucky, very privileged. I'm aware of that. But it has made phenomenal differences to my life, to the life of my family as well. The ripples, the positive effects of...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, of how things, move forward from here, of how you say you're being more understanding and compassionate of yourself.
And it's also affecting my work as well. And I think this book I'm writing about neurodivergence and DJing, saying it's important makes it sound like it's really ponderous and pompous, but I feel like it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah. And do you think do you actually think now, understanding that more, like understanding yourself, how your mind works, do you think that that neurodiversity, that ADHD, that autism is something that actually really helped shape, like your music, for instance, back then when you were first making music? Or do you think it's, it's not as complex as that? It was just you making music.
I think that from my research and from my writing, I think that there are a lot of traits that neurodivergent people have that are particularly well suited for working with sound and particularly well suited for DJing, to the point where it almost is kind of odd that there's such a good match between neurodivergent traits and the skill set of the DJ, to the point where I'm starting to think that DJ history is just neurodivergent history. And I can't go back in time with a diagnostic team and diagnose Francis Grasso and David Mancuso. I can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to start diagnosing people who are dead, who I don't know, and I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But I think there's an argument for saying that the DJ culture that we inhabit is so friendly to neurodivergent people and is such a good place for us to excel, because I think maybe a lot of the DJ innovators maybe had some of those traits.
Yeah. I would have to agree. For someone who's sort of really looked into it more in recent years, through my own family stuff, and understanding it a lot more and similar experiences of yourself. And then you start to recognize it more, and then when you start talking to more artists, both, new, younger artists and older artists, there seems to be, it's quite a common thing. It is quite a common, it's more of it than, I suppose, when you, sorry, I'm now jumping around all over the place, but did you feel like once you were actually first diagnosed and you first realised it, did you feel like a sense of, a bit shocked, a bit alone, or actually like, okay, no, actually now I understand, and there's a lot of people like this?
I felt it was good to get the diagnosis. It explained a lot of stuff. I was a bit afraid of being autistic for a while. I thought it was sounding a bit heavy. I didn't, ADHD made sense to me. It seemed like, not cool, but like, hey, you're a bit scatty, kind of, it's not too serious. Autism seemed a lot more serious to me. I was a little bit frightened of it. I've forgotten what the question was.
I think I have as well. There's two of us. This is brilliant. This is brilliant viewing and listening. But I mean, my brain's working overtime and jumping all over the place because I'm so interested in this and your journey, this and what you do now in terms of, bringing that more awareness to it, which there should be. But I just think it's really interesting that what you were just saying about how you really see, and through writing and through research, that it is quite obvious that there's a real link between neurodiversity and people that are drawn towards music and creativity.
I think, drawn towards music and creativity. But I mean, there is now mounting evidence that the neurodivergence is why there's more neurodivergent DJs than you would think there should be, right? Than the general population.
Totally.
Somewhere where neurodivergent people can really excel because of certain traits that match what DJs need to do. Is my contention.
I hear you.
And I think there are lots of things about the culture that draw us in as well that are really good for us, that make us feel at home. It often happens at night. It's often more a culture more tolerant of weirdness. You get to, there's lots of reasons why we end up there, but I think the main one is that it's a place where we can excel. And we can connect and be seen.
Totally. So do you think it is quite a welcoming scene industry for neurodivergent, or do you think there are particular things that generally, like typically neurodivergent people face that are quite challenging?
No, for me,
in the industry,
I think that it's quite a bohemian culture. You're allowed to, be a bit odd. It takes place at night. It's all about creativity and novelty and excitement. So, the culture for me is a perfect match. I can understand that the networking for me was a challenge.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of DJs, the sensory experience of a nightclub can be a bit much sometimes. Something I've never experienced. I've always just felt really at home in that environment. I think if there are barriers, it's very much to do more with people's knowledge and just accommodating the needs of people like me, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose, but which everyone can face certain challenges and
absolutely.
Things that you feel uncomfortable with, can't you, in the industry?
And I think we're on a journey to addressing that anyway.
Yeah.
Everywhere, everyone is becoming more aware of the range of human experience and the way our minds work, and how we are going to have to be a bit more accommodating to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, totally. If you had advice to anyone that's sort of out there now that maybe like either suspects they're undiagnosed or has recently been diagnosed, and is getting into the industry, would you have any advice to help them, to reassure them, to sort of find their place?
Now's a better time than when I started. You know what I mean? There are people like me putting on conference sessions about it. Every music industry conference session now is having a neurodivergent session. That wasn't the case 3 years ago.
No.
That says a lot. DJ Mag have published 2 really long articles on it. More and more people are talking about it. So
which you wrote, right? You did the
it was me.
Yeah,
and I think. And so I think now is a really good time to be neurodivergent and a DJ. I think it's better than it was 20 years ago. I think everyone's knowledge is slowly growing. Yeah,
so there's a lot more awareness and support, I suppose, out there within the industry.
There's a lot more awareness. I think support is going to take a lot longer because I don't think people are quite sure what shape that should take yet. And I think it needs people like me and from other people in the community to lead the way, to say, actually, this is what's going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you feel that? Do you feel like is that something you want to move into more, or you would move into more? Like, how can I actually...
Like writing, man.
Just like,
I think I can do what I want to... I think I can pursue these kind of goals through my writing. I feel that's where I can do my thing, where I can make a difference.
But do you think the industry needs people who will sort of lead that and actually try to do things that can take shape?
I think if there isn't, then it won't happen. Music industry conferences aren't going to provide a room people to go unless people like me request it, make a noise about it. They're just not going to do it. Why would they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear. Now, because you touched on this a bit, like talking about yourself at younger, or if people coming through now, and how it's changed now. Like, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were younger, or let's even frame this question 2 ways actually. Like, what advice would you necessarily give yourself younger? And also, if you was younger now, like coming into the scene now, maybe we'll do this 2 separate questions. Like, going back, what advice would you give to yourself?
Me, I would say, dude, stop worrying. It's fine. Everything's going to be all right. Do you know what I mean? You're terribly anxious. It's all okay. And I would say, just enjoy it. This is wonderful.
And do you think that's a very typical trait within neurodiverse people? I think worrying, the anxiety.
Anxiety would be our default setting, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So it'd just be less worrying and actually just
enjoy it. Enjoy that journey, because, like I say, you look back on it as the best days of your life. So live it up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And for someone starting now as a DJ,
so if you particularly were like 20, 25 now. Like that time when you were, going to uni and things were starting to move and kick off. Like,
what would I say? I would say,
what do you think how do you think you would approach the journey now of like moving forwards?
I think it would be quite similar. I think the way we do it now is different. I think I would probably be self-releasing stuff and trying to get on parties and that,
And how do you think I know we've joked about it a bit, but like, would you think the social media side of it would would scare you in a way? Not scare, I don't know what the word is, but feel the pressure of having to sort of...
It fucks me off now. I have to do it to promote my books. I'm going to have to do it to promote my new releases and stuff. I fucking hate it. It's fucking bullshit. You know what I mean?
Do you think that's something though where like you hate it from the time and culture you've come from, as well as just that thing of your brain just going,
I hate it, right? I hate it because it makes me go online and go, oh, I got some likes. Oh. Or I go online and go, oh, I haven't got any likes. I fucking hate that, right? Because that's not what this is about. You know what I mean? But you have to, you got to engage now in that world. And it's difficult to engage in that world without getting upset if you don't get as many likes
getting pulled into it.
You know what I mean?
But at the same time, do you see it as like a great promotional tool that artists can use? No, I'm not going to pull you around on this one.
I do, right? It is. I just hate the fact that we have to fucking do
the way it. The sort of, I suppose the way it's been almost designed and programmed is pulls people into that. It pulls people into that sort of, am I being liked? Is it not being liked? As opposed to just there's the tool of putting it out.
Shit out. And do it from the heart, do it real. Do you know? It's interesting. I've not thought about this, but I wonder, would I have put those tunes out in the way I did if they had been so open to scrutiny on social media? Because they weren't.
Yeah.
They just popped out on the labels on records. No one heard them until they were in the fucking record shop. Do you know what I mean? And no one who wasn't loving that music ever heard them. Whereas now, if they were up online, everyone can hear them, and who knows?
And especially if you're someone that worries,
right? If you're anxious,
if you're anxious, then that's giving you more actual things to worry about before the music's even out there.
Yeah,
so that's quite interesting what you're saying. Yeah, you'd probably go down that route of maybe like self-releasing and kind of almost trying to avoid some of that journey.
Yeah, I think there's room for that. There's room for small scenes and small little niche stuff, and a bit more of a personal approach. I think there's still room for that in
totally I see music, I see where you're coming from with that. I'm going for all these questions again because I keep mixing them up. I've been mixing them up as well as well as putting them all there through. So I just want to go back to your those earlier days to sort of finish off and how you feel about your music then. Do you see it as you really contributed towards the scene of how that was evolving and changing?
The major revolutions and developments of tech house happened before I started producing. They did all that in the 90s, the kind of genre rules of what it was going to be. They set all that up. All I did was kind of copy other people. So I don't think I was a contributor.
I think you're very humble about it, though.
I don't think I was a contributor to the scene. I think I made some tunes, and some of them are nice, cool, do you know what I mean? But I don't think I was an innovator the way that Mr. C was, or Leo and Bushwhacker, or Terry and Nathan and Eddie, do you know what I mean? They were,
but you still have to, you've got to see that, and you as an artist there during that, contributing, releasing records which are now standing the test of time and being rediscovered as well. I think you are very I don't know what the word is, but you're very humble. You underplay it, because, and like you say, those times back then, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like legendary club night, Wiggle, in what was going on there, and people like Terry Francis and some of these artists you mentioned. There was a real sort of cultural shift in what was happening in tech house, let's call it. That was tech house as its original form of where it come now. How do you feel about, I suppose a bold, fresh question, how do you feel about tech house now as how it's seen, heard in its modern way compared to then?
It's it became a bit of a dirty word for a while, didn't it? Because it became very
successful. It's interesting that, isn't it?
When something becomes very successful, it gets formulaic, and then it's a bit tiresome, and you had a procession of these records that were really well polished, heavily looped layers of percussion, and they all kind of good, but also the same. So what do I feel about it now? I think there's still good records in all genres. So there's great tech house records being made here and there. It became quite formulaic, as things tend to.
Yeah.
I don't think that's particular to tech house particularly.
Yeah. Interesting.
And these things go through, like you said, in waves of popularity, and that early 2000 sound is super popular at the moment.
And so what personally, on a personal note, what music's sort of really exciting you at the moment? Is there in terms of newer stuff, are you still really listening and
I'm
into
reviewing music every month, so I'm still listening to loads of house music all the time, and there's often lots of stuff that I quite like. It doesn't have to be particularly new or exciting. I think generic stuff can be really brilliant if it's done well, do you know what I mean? So there's still lots of housey stuff that I'm into.
What sort of subgenres are really exciting you? Like within house at the moment, you're quite enjoying seeing like things like, you know, obviously disco house, everything constantly keeps coming round, like I say, in cycles. You know, I really enjoyed hearing some more like of that sort of French influenced house recently and hearing that sound again.
Yeah, you know, been into that. You put me on the spot. I'm trying to think of what I'm into lately.
Something you've reviewed recently that you were just like, do you know what? That actually felt quite fresh, quite original.
Yeah, I mean,
quite exciting.
I don't get excited, right, at freshness or innovation. I think it's really overrated in our scene. I just like people who do a tune really well. I think, like I say, generic tunes can really kill it. And I think innovation is overrated.
That's a bold statement.
Do you know what I mean?
No, but the thing is, we speak about this. I spoke about it before, saying the reality of it is, if we're talking about the industry, if we're talking about record labels and so on, okay, they don't want to just sign an exact duplicate of what they've released, but at the same time, I personally feel like I could stand by the statement they're not looking for something outside the box. Because are they looking to take a big risk?
I don't know
on something that feels fresh.
Been responsible for so many brilliant new music forms in the last 30 years. You think about jungle, that whole UK breaks thing, like jungle, garage,
and when dubstep came through as well, that was
all that beautiful new creation, Black British music. That's not happening at the moment. I think the kind of Afro house, maybe that was the last time.
Yeah.
What's the other thing?
That's really interesting.
When was the last time there was a new Black British movement? But, you know, that's happened every 5 years or so. Something fucking brilliant has happened from black culture in Britain. It's not happened for a while.
And so do you actually think like that? I don't know. It's a really interesting thought there that you've just said that. That's made my brain just think, When
was the last time you heard something like dubstep or
so
like
do you think there's time
new?
for? Do you think there's time for that to come now? Do you think it is time for something new and fresh and innovative to come, or do you think, like you said, it's overrated? And as long as people are doing,
I think both things. Yeah, I think I can contradict myself on that. I think it is overrated, but also it would be great if there was another jungle that popped up. I think it's about time we had another nice something from the streets, unexpected. Yeah, that people go, oh, I'm not sure about this. Do you know what I mean? The way everyone was a bit funny about jungle when it first happened. Oh, it's a bit edgy. I love that shit. The way that fucking garage got a reputation for being really criminal, whatever. Those kind of edgy, real,
but that's what's cool when something comes through, isn't it? Because I was the exact same when dubstep and stuff first came through. I was a bit like, whoa, what is this?
I remember the first time I heard dubstep, I didn't know how to dance to it. I was like, what the fuck is it? Do you know? I remember it literally happening.
It took a little while for me to actually understand it and then enjoy it for what it was, if that makes sense.
And, I'm flippant about innovation, but those innovations are fucking wonderful. And, we're definitely due another, essentially, Black British music form, right? Isn't that due? Am I missing something? Isn't that time?
Yeah.
If you look back through the history since, the last 30 years, every few years, something new, brilliant, pops up, bam, bam, bam.
I hear you.
I think we're due something else, I think. Yeah, definitely.
And what's your guilty pleasure when it comes to music? Or, what's something alternative, different? I think you mentioned rock earlier.
I kind of had this thing about guilty pleasures that I think if you like it and it's good, then, it's good. Why be guilty about it? Right?
Yeah.
So I like a lot of pop music. I like there's that Sabrina Carpenter song. I really like that. That one, I really like that. You know what I mean?
We've got some nodding going on over there as well. Cal's in 100% agreement.
Yeah. So,
I love that.
I'm not guilty about liking that. I think it's a good song, man.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And you said married, kids.
Yeah.
Right. How old's children? Kids?
I got one child. They're 19.
19. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So, do they bring things to you? Do they ever have they influenced you through their music?
They've got great music taste, and there have been a few tunes they've given to me that I'm like, that's really good actually. You know what I mean? So it's been nice. They introduced me to city pop, Japanese subgenre.
Okay, yeah.
They're really into. I don't know how they got into city pop. It's like 80s, kind of dancey, jazzy Japanese pop.
Yeah.
They
That's
got me
cool.
into that. So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty classy, right?
I love that. It's coming full circle. Your kids actually like bringing stuff to you as well. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. So what's on the horizon now then? You mentioned earlier, getting controls back some of this catalogue and stuff. Yeah. It felt like you were sort of almost contemplating it whilst we were talking of actually getting back into production,
Yeah,
but it has been playing on the mind.
A little, yeah. I mean, I do. It would be fun. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I used to have a home studio. I've not really got room for a home studio anymore. Sorry, I keep throwing my thing on the floor.
Right.
But I do know people who've got studios, and it's a lot easier these days with little. I don't know. Yeah, it's something that might happen. But for me at the moment, I've got 3 books.
Focusing on the books.
I want to get them finished. And then there'll be a lot of promotion for the books. And then, there's the Harold Heath Renaissance of all my old stuff that's coming out this year. I think there'll be a bit of promo to do on that.
That's wicked. I love the fact that some of that stuff's coming out again with new label deals.
Yeah, sweet as.
Pressing stuff on vinyl as well. I'm all here for that.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, 100%. Have you always collected sort of vinyl all across the years? Do you still buy and collect it?
I stopped collecting it maybe 15 years ago. And then I've been amassing a digital collection, so I've got a hybrid music collection.
Oh, fair play. Yeah. But you still got all the old vinyl you sort of
most
bought
of it,
from
yeah. And I kept all my CDs too in case there's a great digital wipe.
I did that. I went for an old CD wallet though, and kept them in the loft, and some of them, when I was buying the cheap blank ones and putting stuff onto them, they've gone awful. Awful condition and quality. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm really excited. The books, are you going to be releasing 3 of them together? Is there a bit of an order, like in terms of the storytelling of them?
That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, an order. Not at the moment. No, at the moment I'm just concentrating on getting them done and before, just want to get them done. So we'll see how it pans out.
Well, I look forward to it, man. I look forward to them coming out and reading them, because I think you're an awesome writer, and I think you're really underplaying some of your history as well, some of your music, because we're all big fans of it. We love it. And if any of you like listening or watching and you're unsure of Harold's music, go and check it out. Go check out his back catalogue, because I think you'll find it super, super interesting and inspiring as well, man. But it's been a wicked chat, really nice and honest. Lovely, man, it's been really cool. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you join us again for another episode of the Artist Breakthrough Podcast. We'll be here with another special guest. Take it easy, guys. Peace out. Awesome, man. That was cool. That was really good fun.